취약한,
vulnerable,
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 자발적인,
voluntary,
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 본질적인,
intrinsic,
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 가상의,
virtual,
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 수직의,
vertical,
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 편리한,
convenient,
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 자손,
offspring,
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 언어의,
verbal,
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 활동하지 않는,
inactive,
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 행상인 공급업체,
vendor,
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 변화, 차이,
variation,
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 실업,
unemployment,
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 열대의,
tropical,
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 기근,
famine,
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 번창하다,
thrive,
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 영토,
territory,
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 전술,
tactic,
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 영장류 대주교,
primate,
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 유지하다,
sustain,
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 경험적인, 실증적인,
empirical,
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 가치 있는,
worthwhile,
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 야생동물,
wildlife,
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 행복, 복지,
well-being,
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 장식,
decoration,
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 내달다, 유보하다,
suspend,
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 감시,
surveillance,
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 물질, 실체,
substance,
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 비틀거리다, 더듬거리다,
stumble,
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 지속, 지속기간,
duration,
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 필수적인, 포함된,
integral,
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 버리다,
discard,
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 쓰레기 매립지,
landfill,
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 벗다, 벗기다, 가느다란 조각,
strip,
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 회피, 모면,
evasion,
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 규범적인,
normative,
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 주요한,
staple,
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 괴로움, 괴롭히다,
distress,
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 부담, 혹사하다,
strain,
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 간단한, 솔직한,
straightforward,
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 자극하다,
stimulate,
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 안정성,
stability,
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 쪼개다,
split,
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 생식, 복제,
reproduction,
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 주목할 만한,
notable,
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 구, 영역,
sphere,
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 연민, 동정심,
compassion,
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 장엄한 극적인
spectacular,
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 생물종
species,
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 고집스러운
stubborn,
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 대회 참가자
contestant,
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 주권자 주권이 있는
sovereign,
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 빙하
glacier,
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 정교한
sophisticated,
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 태양의
solar,
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 처리 처분
disposal,
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 중요한
significant,
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 열망하다
crave,
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 희생하다
sacrifice,
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 망치다 파멸
ruin,
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 일상적인
routine,
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 embassy,
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 의식 의례
ritual,
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 굶주리다 굶기다
starve,
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 은퇴하다
retire,
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 확인
confirmation,
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 소매업자
retailer,
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 제한 규제
restriction,
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 책임
responsibility,
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 자원
resource,
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 결심 해결
resolution,
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 거주자 거주하는
resident,
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 평판
reputation,
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 공화국
republic,
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 주목할 만한
remarkable,
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 꺼리는
reluctant,
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 종교
religion,
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 풀어주다 방출하다
release,
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 강화하다
reinforce,
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 규정
regulation,
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 규칙적인 정기적인
regular,
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 등록하다
register,
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 지역의
regional,
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 피난처
refuge,
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 최근에
recent,
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 고정된 정전기
static,
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 영역
realm,
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 이성적인
rational,
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 드문
rare,
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 분리하다 차별하다
segregate,
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 임의의
random,
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 방사선
radiation,
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 뇌물수수,
bribery,
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 노력하다, 시도하다,
endeavor,
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 인종차별,
racism,
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 자격을 얻다, 자격을 주다,
qualify,
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 추구하다,
pursue,
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 출판하다, 발표하다,
publish,
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 심리, 심리학,
psychology,
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 단백질,
protein,
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 제안, 청혼,
proposal,
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 즉각적인, 촉발하다,
prompt,
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 중요한, 유명한,
prominent,
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 사적인,
private,
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 맹장, 부록,
appendix,
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 원칙,
principle,
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 주요한, 최초의,
primary,
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 앉아있는,
sedentary,
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 막다, 예방하다,
prevent,
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 선호, 더 좋아함,
preference,
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 포식자,
predator,
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 귀중한,
precious,
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 잠재적인, 잠재력,
potential,
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 결정, 판단,
decision,
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 묘사하다,
portray,
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 부분, 분배하다,
portion,
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 공해,
pollution,
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 정치인,
politician,
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 행성,
planet,
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 개척자,
pioneer,
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 연금, 수당,
pension,
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 산꼭대기, 최고점,
peak,
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 입자,
particle,
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 부모의,
parental,
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 무지, 무식,
ignorance,
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 모방하다,
imitate,
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 연극의 극적인,
theatrical,
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 가축,
livestock,
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 산소,
oxygen,
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 소유권,
ownership,
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 아주 좋아하다,
adore,
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 숙박시설, 협상,
accommodation,
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 기원,
origin,
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 분류,
classification,
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 영구적,
perpetual,
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 방치하다,
neglect,
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 지향하게 하다,
orient,
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 혼자의,
solitary,
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 조직, 단체,
Organization.
organization,
Organization.
organization,
아무 생각이 없는,
Mindless.
mindless,
Mindless.
mindless,
유기체,
Organism.
organism,
Organism.
organism,
유기농의, 유기체의,
Organic.
organic,
Organic.
organic,
역설,
Paradox.
paradox,
Paradox.
paradox,
작동되다, 운영하다,
Operate.
operate,
Operate.
operate,
지루함,
Boredom.
boredom,
Boredom.
boredom,
광합성,
Photosynthesis.
photosynthesis,
Photosynthesis.
photosynthesis,
공식적인 공무원,
Official.
official,
Official.
official,
불쾌하게 하다, 범죄를 저지르다,
Offend.
offend,
Offend.
offend,
차지하다,
Occupy.
occupy,
Occupy.
occupy,
가끔의,
Occasional.
occasional,
Occasional.
occasional,
영양분,
Nutrient.
nutrient,
Nutrient.
nutrient,
핵의, 원자력의,
Nuclear.
nuclear,
Nuclear.
nuclear,
개념, 의견,
Notion.
notion,
Notion.
notion,
주목, 공고문, 주목하다,
Notice.
notice,
Notice.
notice,
Naive.
순진한,
naive,
Naive.
naive,
우주선,
Spacecraft.
spacecraft,
Spacecraft.
spacecraft,
위험에 빠뜨리다,
Endanger.
endanger,
Endanger.
endanger,
중립적인,
Neutral.
neutral,
Neutral.
neutral,
곰팡이류,
Fungus.
fungus,
Fungus.
fungus,
기생충,
Parasite.
parasite,
Parasite.
parasite,
무섭게 하다,
Terrify.
terrify,
Terrify.
terrify,
이야기, 묘사,
Narrative.
narrative,
Narrative.
narrative,
상호간의,
Mutual.
mutual,
Mutual.
mutual,
동기를 부여하다,
Motivate.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
분자,
Molecule.
molecule,
Molecule.
molecule,
중간에, 적당한,
Moderate.
moderate,
Moderate.
moderate,
이동성의,
Mobile.
mobile,
Mobile.
mobile,
기계, 부품, 조직,
Machinery.
machinery,
Machinery.
machinery,
소수, 소수 집단,
Minority.
minority,
Minority.
minority,
장관, 성직자,
Minister.
minister,
Minister.
minister,
광물,
Mineral.
mineral,
Mineral.
mineral,
우연한,
Accidental.
accidental,
Accidental.
accidental,
이동, 이주,
Migration.
migration,
Migration.
migration,
신진대사, 물질대사,
Metabolism.
metabolism,
Metabolism.
metabolism,
지출,
Expenditure.
expenditure,
Expenditure.
expenditure,
제조하다, 제품,
Manufacture.
manufacture,
Manufacture.
manufacture,
조종하다, 잘 다루다,
Manipulate.
manipulate,
Manipulate.
manipulate,
유지보수,
Maintenance.
maintenance,
Maintenance.
maintenance,
철학자,
Philosopher.
philosopher,
Philosopher.
philosopher,
논리적인,
Logical.
logical,
Logical.
logical,
위치,
Location.
location,
Location.
location,
한계,
Limitation.
limitation,
Limitation.
limitation,
자유주의의,
Liberal.
liberal,
Liberal.
liberal,
배심원단,
jury,
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 격리하다,
isolate,
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 보이지 않는,
invisible,
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 조사하다,
investigate,
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 해석하다, 통역하다,
interpret,
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 의회, 국회,
parliament,
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 상호작용,
interaction,
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 강렬한,
intense,
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 통합하다,
integrate,
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 손상되지 않은,
intact,
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 보험,
insurance,
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 시작하다,
initiate,
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 걸음, 걸음을 주다,
manure,
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 소화하다, 이해하다,
digest,
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 변장하다,
disguise,
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 피할 수 없는,
inevitable,
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 인상, 감명,
impression,
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 산업의,
industrial,
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 초목, 식물,
vegetation,
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 의존하는,
dependent,
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 망치다,
spoil,
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 진짜인, 진정한,
authentic,
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 독립적인,
independent,
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 개조하다,
renovate,
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 독소,
toxin,
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 먹을 수 있는,
edible,
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 암시하다,
imply,
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 순환하다, 순환시키다,
circulate,
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 면역에 면제된,
immune,
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 외국으로부터 이민,
immigration,
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 담그다, 몰두하다,
immerse,
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 정체성, 동일함,
identity,
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 가설,
hypothesis,
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 논문,
thesis,
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 힘들어 끌다, 많은 양,
haul,
hall,
haul,
hall,
서식지,
habitat,
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 유죄의,
guilty,
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 내면화하다,
internalize,
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 자금, 자금을 대다,
fund,
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 액자틀, 구조,
frame,
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 기초, 설립,
foundation,
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 틀린 생각,
fallacy,
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 유연성,
flexibility,
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 금융, 자금을 대다,
finance,
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 연방의,
federal,
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 우연의 일치,
coincidence,
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 찾기 힘든, 애매한,
elusive,
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 피로,
fatigue,
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 시설, 기능,
facility,
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 규모, 범위,
extent,
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 결국,
eventually,
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 민족의, 종족의,
ethnic,
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 윤리학,
ethics,
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 동등한,
equivalent,
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 장비를 갖추다,
equip,
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 평등,
equality,
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 실체,
entity,
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 등록하다,
enroll,
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 배출,
emission,
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 감싸다,
embrace,
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 제거하다,
eliminate,
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 선거, 당선,
election,
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 사육, 양육,
breeding,
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 효소,
enzyme,
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 정교한, 정교하게 만들다,
elaborate,
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 자아,
ego,
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 생태계,
ecosystem,
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 경제,
economy,
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 생태계,
ecological,
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 지배적인,
dominant,
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 영역, 분야,
domain,
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 분할, 나눗셈,
division,
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 위장, 위장하다,
camouflage,
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 지역,
district,
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 분배, 유통,
distribution,
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 차이, 뛰어남,
distinction,
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 거리,
distance,
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 습관적인,
habitual,
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 차별, 구별,
discrimination,
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 담론, 강연,
discourse,
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 규율, 훈련,
discipline,
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 방향,
direction,
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 필요로 하다,
entail,
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 이해하다,
comprehend,
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 보완하다, 보완물,
complement,
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 할당하다,
allocate,
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 각인시키다, 각인,
imprint,
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 번창하다,
flourish,
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 진단, 진찰,
diagnosis,
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 악화되다,
deteriorate,
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 복사하다,
duplicate,
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 비우기 대피,
evacuation,
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 실현 가능한,
feasible,
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 당뇨병,
diabetes,
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 바치다, 헌신하다,
devote,
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 detective,
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 탐지하다,
detect,
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 정말 좋은,
splendid,
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 상호성,
reciprocity,
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 묘사하다,
depict,
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 증명하다, 보여주다,
demonstrate,
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 민주적인,
democratic,
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 유혹,
temptation,
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 신중한, 숙고하다,
deliberate,
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 방어,
defense,
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 끼워 넣다,
embed,
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 관습, 세관,
custom,
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 어울리다, 사회화시키다,
socialize,
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 비유, 유사점,
analogy,
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 통화,
currency,
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 중대한,
crucial,
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 중대한,
critical,
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 성숙한, 성숙하다,
mature,
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 잡아당기다,
tug,
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 범죄자,
criminal,
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 활력,
vitality,
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 마찰,
friction,
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 충돌, 충돌하다,
crash,
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 균열, 갈라지다,
crack,
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 유전체,
genome,
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 공간적인,
spatial,
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 조직화하다,
coordinate,
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 설득하다,
convince,
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 전달하다, 운반하다,
convey,
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 산술,
arithmetic,
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 계급,
hierarchy,
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 논란이 많은,
controversial,
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 공존하다,
coexist,
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 완화하다,
relieve,
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 대조, 대조하다,
contrast,
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 내용, 만족한,
content,
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 긴급한,
urgent,
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 양육, 양육하다,
nurture,
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 소비,
consumption,
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 설득하다, 유도하다,
induce,
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 제약, 통제,
constraint,
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 옆이, 측면에,
lateral,
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 합의,
consensus,
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 직면하다,
confront,
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 갈등, 충돌,
conflict,
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 초승달 모양,
crescent,
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 구체적인 고체의
concrete,
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 결론,
conclusion,
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 집중,
concentration,
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 복잡한,
complicated,
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 마음을 사로잡다,
captivate,
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 영양분을 주다, 기르다,
nourish,
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 홍역,
measles,
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 임상의, 병상의,
clinical,
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 삼림 파괴,
deforestation,
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 시민,
citizen,
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 인용하다,
site,
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 파산,
bankrupt,
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 회로, 순환,
circuit,
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 무인의,
unmanned,
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 짐, 수화물,
luggage,
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 혐오감, 혐오감 주다,
disgust,
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 회상, 회상하다,
retrospect,
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 자선,
charity,
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 분류하다,
categorize,
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 항공,
aviation,
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 대충하는, 평상복,
casual,
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 새기다, 조각하다,
carve,
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 탄수화물,
carbohydrate,
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 사로잡다, 포착하다,
capture,
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 능력,
capability,
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 항생제,
antibiotic,
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 계산하다,
calculate,
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 잔인한,
brutal,
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 호기심을 일으키다, 음모를 꾸미다,
intrigue,
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 breakthrough,
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 용기,
bravery,
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 경계의 범위,
boundary,
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 남극 대륙,
Antarctica,
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 중심에, 초점에,
focal,
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 증가시키다,
boost,
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 생물학,
biology,
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 인식,
awareness,
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 정보를 전하다, 특성을 주다,
impart,
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 연관시키다,
associate,
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 조수,
assistant,
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 자산,
asset,
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 평가하다, 부과하다,
assess,
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 수정하다,
revise,
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 외교,
diplomacy,
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 놀라서 숨막히는,
breathtaking,
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 정당한 이유,
justification,
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 공격, 폭행,
assault,
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 세속적인, 시간에,
temporal,
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 준비, 협의,
arrangement,
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 이적인,
aesthetic,
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 역경, 불행,
adversity,
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 청소년,
adolescent,
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 입장, 잘못을 시인,
admission,
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 관리, 행정,
administration,
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 성취,
achievement,
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 반복,
repetition,
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 가속화하다,
accelerate,
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 학문에, 학교에,
academic,
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 정화하다,
purify,
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 버리다, 담념하다,
abandon,
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 건축,
architecture,
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 대략,
approximately,
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 생리학의,
physiological,
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 대성당,
cathedral,
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 근거 등을 언급하다,
invoke,
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 임명하다, 정하다,
appoint,
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 외모, 나타남,
appearance,
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 사과하다,
apologize,
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 기념일,
anniversary,
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 외계인, 외계에,
extraterrestrial,
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 고안하다,
devise,
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 조상,
ancestor,
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 분석하다,
analyze,
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 대사, 특사,
ambassador,
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 alternative,
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 공격적인,
aggressive,
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 대리인, 행위자,
agent,
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 agent,